We already have 23 years of uninterrupted civil rule in Nigeria since the advent of the Fourth Republic on May 29, 1999. Remember, the First, Second, and Third Republics were punctuated by military coups, but today there is growing perception that the worst civilian rule is better than military dictatorship. That may be subject to debate, you may say. We are not engaging in that debate now, but appraising 23 years of unbroken democracy in Nigeria, despite the spate of military coups around us on the continent. What are the strengths and challenges of our democratic experience? This episode of 30 Minutes will take you through that journey. Welcome to the program. I am Mitaire Ikpen, and as I speak, the clock is ticking. Democratic rule is widely embraced globally, and here in Nigeria, you may want to ask this critical question. Has democracy been a blessing or a curse? Ekene Ndulwe has a packaged report that will provide answers.
In 1960, Nigeria attained the status of an independent state, with President Nnamdi Azikiwe as its first head of state and Prime Minister Abubakar Tafawa Balewa as the first head of government. For 6 years, Nigeria enjoyed the perks of democracy until the first military incursion in the nation's politics in 1966. Since then, it was a series of one military coup after the other and a short stint of civilian rule between 1979 and 1983. However, democracy returned in 1999 with the election of President Olusegun Obasanjo. From 1999 till date, it has been 23 years of uninterrupted democracy. Many are of the view that the democratic journey has been of immense importance in holding leaders accountable. The legislature, which is seen as the symbol of democracy, is vital in this regard. But have they lived up to their billing within this period?
The legislature is no longer seen as a clog in the wheel of progress. In 1999, during my first year, I remember that many people would say, what are they, all these people? They are wasting everybody's time. The president has presented the budget. Why are they wasting time? They are wasting everybody's time. You don't hear those kind of utterances anymore, which goes to show that the public now knows and fully understands the importance of the role that the legislature is playing in the process of appropriation, in the process of lawmaking, in the process of performance of oversight functions. Again, during the military, nobody performs oversight on projects being done by the military. You just hear that some specific sum of money has been voted for the project, but nobody goes there to oversight those. But under a democratic government, the legislature carries out these oversight functions to ensure that public funds are judiciously utilized.
The political process is also said to have recorded some positives, and the 2022 Electoral Act Amendment Bill is a pointer in this direction.
For the first time, I was a national delegate, and I exercised my vote. Good policies of President Buhari actually made it so. I was happy the governors were not delegates. I was happy, for example, senators were not delegates because they were becoming lords. They were becoming lords. So, for example, in my party at the stadium, you see how organized the party came out with a good convention. So we need that kind of content for the country. So I foresee good country, I foresee a good future for the country. That's what I'm saying. For tomorrow will certainly be better than today for the country.
For the judiciary, their role as the last hope of the common man in Nigeria's democracy has been defined as critical.
The politicians have made laws which have created a lot of work for judges, but they have not provided the facilities for the judges and their support staff. So for democracy in Nigeria to be consolidated, for democracy in Nigeria to stand the test of time, we need to now pay attention to the accountability institutions. You know, the accountability institutions are led by the judiciary and the law enforcement agencies. And they provide four things, which are the most important thing for a sustainable democracy. Number one is access to information. Information is critical. Then access to justice, very important. Access to the means of livelihood and access to security.
However, timely prosecution of offenders and effective implementation of the anti-corruption law has remained a challenge.
In the last 23 years of uninterrupted democracy, we've seen instances where there are introduction of new institutions like EFCC, ICPC coming on board and others. And what is the extent of their performance? They've tried to a reasonable extent. Yes, there is no perfect situation, there is no perfect organization, there is no perfect relationship anywhere. But despite the imperfection, they were able to record some successes. But of recent, the disturbing factor, which will even weaken the corruption, the anti-corruption agencies themselves, is the manner in which presidential pardon is being granted to some of the convicted individuals.
While the judiciary, I hear in one breath, is accusing the anti-corruption agencies of bringing cases that are half-baked, they don't have witnesses, they are not prepared for it, and therefore they keep asking for adjustments on the other hand. But I also know that the judiciary has to take some part of the blame because of the slow pace of the judicial process in Nigeria. So to that extent, honestly speaking, there is much to be done.
The journey in the education sector has been seen as an uphill task, with perennial issues of industrial strike actions by tertiary institutions and decline in the quality of education at the public schools.
To get the educational sector right, the first thing to do is to give educational sector priority during budgeting. The minimum requirement a country must do while budgeting must give a minimum of 15% of its total budget to education, because education is everything. You pay teachers well, professors must be paid well. I am an apostle of the very fact that in a developing country like ours, senators should not earn more than a professor, because we need the brain to be able to take the country to our expected goal or aim. Pay teachers well, give them values, fund research in the universities. Our secondary schools must be embodied to do well. No child should be left behind at home. In the primary school, from the kindergarten to the university, we must make education a priority. Laws should be enabled that if you're a Nigerian with the ripe age to go to school, if you found hawking during the school days or school hours, you must be arrested, your parents must be arrested. Or in the minimum, they should be questioned. Why will your child not be in school?
In the agriculture sector, it has been a milestone achievement, especially in rice production, which stood at 3.1 million tons in 1999, but has increased significantly to 8.1 million tons over the years.
Nigeria at that time, the production of agriculture was about 3.1 million. That was the indices, and now presently our agricultural production is about 3.1 million tons per annually. That is annually. So when you look at the ratio, the gap is a little bit higher. Now we have had a very good improvement. That improvement has caused because of the government policy, especially the policy of our president, President Muhammad Buhari. This policy of agricultural intervention, what you call it, our corporate program, which have progressively improved the life and ordinary man here, especially the farmers. Why? Because we have seen a drastic change from dependency on importation, from dependency on what you call it, oil.
On the other hand, prices of food items have seen a steep increase despite the positives recorded in food production. How can the country surmount this challenge? Infrastructure, seen as the bedrock of development in any society, has received some attention over this period, though citizens believe more needs to be done.
You can also see projects, visible projects all over the country that have been executed over the time. We do hope that by the time the second Niger Bridge is commissioned, that will be probably the greatest achievement that we have recorded during these past 23 years, even though successive governments have been talking about it. I know the state of the roads across much vast sections of the country as at today are not in the best shape. But democracy ensures a process by which this can be fixed. The rails were not working in 1999, but now, except for the recent vandalization incident along the Abuja-Kaduna corridor, trains are working in some sections of the country, which didn't exist in 1999.
Come 2023, Nigeria will be witnessing another round of general elections, and expectations are that these will transit to another civilian rule. Public affairs analysts are saying that sustaining the country's democracy requires collective efforts of all Nigerians, while it is hoped that the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) will live up to its billing by giving Nigerians a free, fair and credible election come 2023.
Many thanks, Ikpen, for your revealing report. Good things, however, come with challenges, and that is why we shall also be taking a look at the challenges of our democratic experience with a view to charting the way forward. Joseph Otsen is our guide in this next report.
When the ministry handed over power to an elected democratic government on May 29, 1999, reactions of many Nigerians then revealed high expectations. There was optimism that the dividends of democracy, including participation in electoral process, observance of the rule of law, and other stratas of development will flourish. Development will be people-driven, with leaders of choice at the helm of affairs.
There is no way how you can compare democracy with autocracy or dictatorship. In a democratic government, the people elect who they want to lead them based on their perception, based on his concept. In a military government, you don't choose who rule you. It is just a group of handful people that come to decide for the whole country and for everybody what to do or how to do it. So the worst democratic government is better than the best military government. That to establish. So democracy has come to Nigeria and it has come to stay.
23 years after, Nigerians see a mixed bag of fortunes. Thankfully, the military has stayed away from power and remained in the barracks. However, many believe that the country still has lots of work to do to improve its electoral process, the economy, peace and security for the well-being of the citizens.
That we've had opportunity to define our lives for 23 years uninterrupted is fantastic. What have we achieved? We've achieved a lot. In my opinion, one of the greatest achievements is that Nigerians now are becoming more conscious of the fact that they can actually define their own future. They can define their own lives. And I love during the last election what happened. People were given money. They took the money, pocketed it, and did what they wanted to do. So for me, those are some of the things. In terms of development indicators, as an obstetrician and gynecologist, we're still way behind. Our maternal mortality ratio has not improved. Our child mortality has improved, but not commensurate to where we are. And our level of education, the number of educated people has increased, the quality of our education has deteriorated. If you have a graduate today, he's less educated than a primary 7. before democracy. So yes, there is increase in number, but there's decrease in quality of what we have as Nigerians.
There are only some few people in the whole country, in the entire country, that are really enjoying democracy. Even the country itself is not enjoying democracy. Look at how we are still battling with unemployment. Youth doesn't have any job to do. Power, there is not any power. Look at how we are being, submerged into huge of quagmire and difficulty. People are crying. The economy is not even smiling at every person.
Corruption, to analysts, has been a major stumbling block to development and progress of the country, such that President Muhammadu Buhari has affirmed on several occasions that if Nigeria does not kill corruption, corruption will kill the country.
The present administration tried to tackle corruption and the insecurity economy. And truly, these are the three major challenges that we're having. And that problem, most especially the corruption aspect of it, has entered into the minds and blood of a lot of Nigerians, that cleansing it up will take a long process. And unless that is done, we'll continue to have this problem, because security is first and paramount then if there's no corruption. In fact, corruption gives birth to insecurity. Corruption gives birth to underdevelopment. Corruption gives birth to anything that is bad in governance. And we are having that like a conqueror among Nigerians right now.
Everyone now takes his or her child to private school. And the private school now has been corrupted. It is for the rich and no longer for the masses. And the public schools teach nothing because they are not being paid well. That is what collapsed, how that sector got collapsed. Poor funding and the looting of the funds meant for it.
Reported cases of public officers allegedly amassing wealth no longer come as a surprise to Nigerians. Most times the amount involved is humongous, just like the alleged 80 billion naira fraud case currently being investigated against the suspended Accountant General of the Federation.
Recently, a lot of people have been alleged or were alleged to have stolen a lot of money. The Accountant General of the Federation, recently we also heard that there were some issues of misappropriation in Rivers.
Democracy is expected to build strong institutions that will help curb corruption and fast-track development. Since 1999, the country has made efforts to establish anti-graft agencies. Though remarkable progress has been made in the prosecution of those found wanting, including some high-profile personalities, there are concerns that more need to be exposed. On the economy, the country is making efforts to diversify revenue generation beyond crude oil. However, there is still heavy dependence on the oil economy, which is subject to shocks in the global economy. Again, most of the sub-national governments depend mainly on federal allocations and are failing to enhance potential within their domains, despite the fact that all states of the Federation are rich in several resources. The implication is that a vast majority of Nigerians are struggling to make ends meet, making them vulnerable to stipends from persons vying for elective positions, thereby creating credibility gaps in the electoral process.
People are being told not to commercialize election, but unfortunately when you go to some rural areas and even the cities, that's urban states, you can find out that people can only vote for you when you have money. Recently you have seen what is happening with delegates and what have you. It is just a matter of business, making election to be business things.
You collect money, you vote for somebody you know that he spent 30 million per delegate to emerge as presidential candidate of a party. You have already demonstrated corruption, and when you see corruption coming, you know that you are an architect of it. So if our youth will realize that they are very, very important in this society, that they should come together collectively to say no.
But the most important thing that bothers me is actually the participation of women in decision making. We are retrogressing. If you look at our assembly, you look at the number of women in decision making position in our parliament, in our state assemblies, in our executives, prorate from the time we started democracy till now, we are actually now descending. This is a shame. And this is vividly shown just a few months ago when there were so many, I think there were over 100 bills taken to, or 40-something bills taken to the National Assembly. Most were passed. The 5 that were taken by women were all, as soon as they said, this bill on women, they say, no, 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 no. This bill on, they don't even listen. They didn't listen to what the bill was asking for. As soon as I said women, they said, no, 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 and they shut it down. That shows us that we have a long way to go until this country recognizes that women are primarily human beings with brains like anybody and capacity like anybody, and accept and respect that. We have a long way to go. But also we, my sisters, my daughters, us, the women, we also have to get our game. We have numbers. We can bargain. And honestly, I would ask women to rally around themselves and go across party line in every state and negotiate who is going to give women the respect that they deserve as human beings, and go vote for those guys. What's party allegiance if you're not respected as a human being? So women, we've got to get our acts right. We've got to strategize. That's what politicians do. I'm not a politician, but women, we need to strategize, and strategize well this time around.
More so, corruption and economic hardships are what public analysts believe are partly responsible for insecurity in the country, with kidnapping, banditry, and communal clashes taking a toll on citizens in some parts of the country.
If not because of the security challenges that we are having in Nigeria today, I want to believe that the developmental level of Nigeria today democratically would have gone far, far, far beyond our expectation. But naturally, from the advent of democracy, we had the Niger Delta militancy issue. It also drew our development back because of the bombing of oil pipelines. The major source of revenue in Nigeria at that time was interrupted for a very long time. That has disrupted development. And then comes the issue of successionists from Oduduwa Republic to Biafra Republic to how have you. Then comes also Boko Haram issue, which has also hindered a lot of developmental process. Then come banditry, kidnapping, cattle rustling, and then the continuity of problem in almost 30 states of the Federation. Naturally, you don't expect a serious development under a situation of war, whether anybody likes it or not. We have a security challenge in Nigeria, and that security challenge is already, Nigeria is already at war with a lot of security issues.
Until we put round pegs in round holes, there is no solution for Nigeria. We need to get out of the euphoria of seeing somebody who read building to now be paying money as a worker in the bank as a cashier. It's wrong. Let a builder build. Let a banker pay money. If we start seeing Nigeria on that light, Nigeria is moving.
For Nigeria to make speedy progress to enable the masses reap the dividends of democracy, analysts agree that accountability, justice, and a robust electoral process are necessary conditions that must be put in place.
Thank you, Joseph, for your insightful package. Apparently, our democracy is work in progress. It is, however, imperative for all our elected and appointed political office holders to be accountable and efficient in the management of our resources and diversity for public good. And while we count down to another democratic transition, let us go for leaders that will bring pride to the nation. Till we come your way again on 30 Minutes, I am Mitaire Ikpen. Bye for now.